Exclamation, everybody, and welcome back to Cube Ramblings. It is Saturday afternoon, June, not July, June the 7th, 2014 is when I am recording this for tomorrow. Oh, and some stuff is going on. Got some stuff on my mind. Lots of stuff. Some of it gaming stuff, some of it just random ramblings and other things, as I tend to do. It's been kind of a weird day for me. You know, I got a lot of different threads going on in my brain right now. That I'm not going to really get into, but it's just it's one of those days where you feel like you're getting pulled in 8 different directions and you're not quite sure how you're going to survive. But a couple of things have been going on as far as both my channel and some gaming stuff and some various articles I've been reading online and whatnot. So we'll get into that. First of all, I started. This is the first week that I've had my videos all scheduled ahead of time. Now that I've turned on the enable monetization on the channel, but I haven't actually monetized anything yet. But I get the scheduling feature. So everything's been going up at 10 a.m. Eastern time, which is okay-ish. What I've discovered is that it's 10 a.m. seems to be the popular time for a lot of the far more popular channels to have their things go live. I was watching my Twitter feed and seeing how mine got buried in a mountain of other things. So I starting today actually with the Wolfenstein video. I am switching it up to 10:30 a.m. rather than 10 a.m. Just in the hopes that I can sort of get off of that high peak time and maybe sneak in there right after everybody else has gotten their things out. Of course, as soon as I did that this morning, BOO put a Cube World episode up right at the same exact time as my Wolfenstein episode went up. So I was even the adjustment doesn't seem to be good enough. I think they have their stuff set for random at some point in time there because things are getting adjusted pretty quickly. Speaking of which, good to see BOO back in the Cube World. And it's funny because as soon as he started doing his thing, the Cube World Reddit suddenly turned into an actually halfway pleasant place to be. There are actually real questions and, you know, helpful answers and everything else. It's an incredible turnaround, and I'm glad to see it happening. So things are looking up, hopefully, and it's good to see that there's still interest in the game, and you know, people are still doing their thing, getting rekindled. Hopefully we'll have an update for them relatively soon, I hope. It'll be 1 year since Cube World was released in alpha form in July. I know this because that's when I started recording and started up my YouTube channel. So that will be interesting. It'll be interesting to see what comes down. Obviously, there hasn't been any updates since the last time I updated anybody, but there's been some more, you know, posts, some blog posts, and everything else going up. So it looks like there's a potential that there will be something coming soon-ish, but we'll find out when it comes. So that is awesome to see. And it's awesome to see BOO back in his series. It's, you know, he had a lot of fun with it. The first season that I watched, and I watched all of it, and then he, you know, sort of put it away because he really, I mean, for the amount of grinding that I do, he sat down for hours and hours on end and just ground through the game. And I do 45 minutes a week, so I can't really call myself. I can't really say that I've done a lot of grinding. It's just been a lot of time. I still enjoy the game a lot too. It's just just try to keep it to the once a week thing because I don't have that time. I don't have the luxury of time. I have all these other recordings that I'm doing. I actually recorded another 2.5 roughly hours of Wolfenstein: A New Order. Don't know if it'll translate into 3 episodes or not like the other one did. The other one actually translated into 4 episodes, which is amazing. My last playthrough, my last session. But this one probably not, because I ended up just failing repeatedly and having to restart things or just searching around for the path to go on and all that stuff. So that's a thing. But I'm still enjoying that game a lot. And I actually got a bit of a spoiler. I actually got to replay the nightmare thing, and you'll know what I mean when you watch. I think today's episode, or Saturday's episode, if you're watching this on Sunday. You'll know what I mean by that. But that was cool. I was glad to be able to get another shot at it, because it was funny. When I started playing. When it jumped me back into the Easter egg, I immediately started getting flashbacks to an earlier time, and I suddenly start using the old keys, the old keystrokes from that previous time, and none of them were working because the game is completely different and works differently. So that kind of messed me up. But now, knowing that, when I went in the second time, I was able to do a lot better than I did the first time. So no slight spoiler there and slight not, but you'll see that coming up in a later episode. So I have that running where Mirror's Edge used to be running. So that's Saturday and Monday for that. I was debating whether or not to put a third slot in there, but really I don't want to do that until I get some more recorded. If I can get ahead of the game, if I can get all the way through or almost all the way through the game, then that would be a feasible thing. And speaking of almost all the way through a game, Ethereum, I thought I was on my last episode, but not quite. It looks like I'm going to have to do one more recording session. I think this will probably be the last recording session I do for it, because I'll be hopefully finished the game. It seems like it's winding down. I thought it was winding down. I was getting like a false wind down at the one point, but it threw a little curveball in there at the end. So we'll see. The difficulty on that game just suddenly skyrocketed, and it's not. It feels like the later missions, and I'll talk about this more in the series when I do the roundup, in the finale. But it feels like a lot of the later missions in that were not quite as polished or as balanced as the earlier missions, and it kind of shows a little bit. And I have more to talk about with that in the series itself. So that should be once I'm finished recording that, then I'll be able to start looking at some more things. Transistor is one that I'm really want to get into. I really want to start looking at. I haven't even loaded it up yet. Also, I've been debating this back and forth, and I don't know what way I want to go yet, because it's kind of I have a lot of older games that I would like to play, but I don't know. I would like to record them. I'd like to put them on YouTube, but I don't know if they fit on my current channel or if I should make another channel just dedicated solely to them. If I do this second channel, it's going to be a bit of a bear to manage, but it won't be a video every day type of thing either. But at the same time, I've built up a rapport on my current channel that it feels like it should just go on the regular channel with everything else. And now that I have the scheduling stuff, I could certainly make a slot for all that stuff to fit into. So I don't know. I'm kind of throwing it back and forth. Obviously, I still need to finish some Star Crusader, and really it was Star Crusader that was making me think about it, because I have a little thing where it's going to be uploading like 2 videos per day, 2 videos on the day of whatever day I choose or whatever slot I choose for Star Crusader. And that's because I decide to record both paths of the game. The game branches off in the last half of it, and I've started recording both halves of it. Hopefully I can continue to do that. I have this fear that I'm going to jump back and forth and accidentally load up the wrong save file, and stuff's not going to be there, and so on and so forth. So hopefully everything will be okay. Everything will just work out fine. So I'm in the process of doing that as well. And of course, I just want to get through. I want to get through, Ethereum as well, and I want to get through Wolfenstein: The New Order as fast as I can. So I can that frees me up to, all I have to do then is just edit them, which does take time sometimes, but not as much time as it takes to actually record them sometimes. It really depends. Sometimes you have to watch the entire thing back to make sure you got everything. But it's gotten to the point now where I can sort of kind of figure out that I don't need to listen to the entire thing again. I can kind of just, jump through it and make sure that all the pieces are together, and remember where I had parts that didn't move quite quickly, or where I had to redo things, and so on and so forth. So as you do the YouTube a little bit longer, you tend to keep mental notes as you're recording about things that you're probably going to cut, later on, and then you can just revisit them. So that's that. And of course, all the other things. I still have a ton of Wing Commander Saga that needs to get out there. I mean, that's going to be like 30 episodes, and Ethereum is probably not going to be 30 episodes, but it's going to get darn close. It's going to be darn close to it. So I just need to get myself together there, figure out what I'm doing, and hopefully just get through things. I've been sort of slacking off a little bit with the videos, because I've been just busy trying to figure things out and trying to get things done around, in real life, and just kind of distracted in other regards, and also trying to just keep ahead of the editing and everything else. So hopefully I can get back onto a good pattern. Also, I'll be having my usual summer week-long vacation coming up in July, and like I attempted to do last year, I'm going to attempt to do again this year, and just sit down and try to record as much as I possibly can, be like a full-time YouTuber for a week, and see what comes out of it. Also, I have a bunch of games that I have as lined up as side quests that I need to revisit. I also got a tweet from the arts guy for a particular game, or girl, whatever. I think it was a guy, the art guy for a little indie game, asking me if I'd take a look at it. So I'm going to do that soon-ish. Hopefully, maybe I can even do that today. We'll see. Lots of things on my radar, because I kind of have to play the game a little bit to figure out how to play it, and then I can figure out how to record it. So it really depends on how quickly I can pick up the actual mechanics of the game. So that's a thing. Lots of things. Speaking of things, a little update here on the Kickstarter stuff that I've been following. Super hot. It is a sort of a take on an FPS game where the entire game freezes until you actually move, until your character actually moves. So you're doing a whole lot of sort of bullet time, matrixy stuff. It's a game that's a Kickstarter that basically broke its record. It needed $100,000 they were trying to raise $100,000, and they got it within the first couple hours of the Kickstarter going up. But they have surpassed the $200,000 mark. They're at $201,749, and there's 6 days left on it. What that has done is that unlocked the replay mode, which sounds freaking awesome. Basically, you're playing the game in sort of a bullet time mode, and then when you get to the end of the level, you can replay how you did in the level, and it will replay in full speed. So you'll look, you know, pretty badass as you dodge all these bullets and everything else. So that sounds awesome. So because of that, that was the last stretch goal that they had listed on there. So they added 2 more. One of them is a New Game Plus, which we all know and love. Basically, you restart the game. After you finish the game, you can restart from the beginning, and it gives you a little extra challenge. And that's at $230,000. And if they reach $300,000, which may not be out of the realm of possibility, they're going to work on a level editor. But they have the little caveat there that it's going to be in, you know, Steam Workshop, which is good because it'll integrate with the Steam client and all that stuff. But they put a little caveat there that said, like, look, we didn't have any plans to do it. So if we do hit that stretch goal, it may not come out as part of the full released game. It may be something that you can download for free later. They might develop it after the full game is done, which I think is fair. I mean, it's one of those things that because of the complexity of it, they wanted to sort of split that up, and I think that's fair game. It's, you know, you didn't have any plans on it being this successful, and you're trying to appease as many people as you can, and that sounds reasonable to me. So there you go. That is the update for Super Hot. Another thing that I just saw come down today, GOG, Good Old Games. They announced that they're going to look into having a client, much like Steam and Desora, and they're calling it GOG Galaxy. And I watched a video on it, and basically it's going to be what you expect. You can basically register, quote unquote, register your games with it, and it'll help keep your games updated, which is really the whole purpose of a client. But unlike Steam, you don't have to play the game through the client, from what I understand. You still can play it, you know, locally. You don't have to have the client running at all. You can do everything offline. There's no DRM in it, like Steam has Steamworks DRM. There's no DRM still on it. It's really just there for convenience. It's really there for, you know, convenience and bragging, right? It's A, I want to keep my game up to date, and B, you know, if the game offers achievements and all that stuff, hey, I can share them with friends, and I can chat with friends and all that stuff. But you don't have to be online with any of that stuff, or, you know, you don't need a persistent internet connection, blah, 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 all that stuff. That sounds pretty cool. I just took a look at it, you know, at the video, like I said, and it sounds interesting. It sounds like the type of thing that you really need. Because when you think about Steam, right, there's a lot of these community things in Steam. You know, they're trying to promote more, like the tagging and all that stuff, and there's chat and all that stuff. And then you have the interface pop up and all that stuff, and most of that is, I just turn most of that off. I mean, it's not really that important. In fact, I was doing a test record of Watch Dogs, and it was not, well, first of all, in Fraps it was I wasn't getting a good frame rate. So I switched over to DxTory, and DxTory's like, nope, can't record this at all. And I'm looking around like, why would that be? I mean, it was just literally either the game would crash, or DxTory would just not even be available. And it turns out, you know, Watch Dogs, the Ubisoft games all have that Uplay thing, which is basically Steam, but it's Ubisoft's majigger, much like Origin is EA's thing, which unfortunately I have installed, but for good reason. And it's just I had to, in order to get DxTory to work, I had to turn off the in-game display, which I would have turned off anyway. I just didn't realize it was on. So it was putting its hooks into, you know, DirectX and causing DxTory to freak out. So once I turned that off, all the in-game pop-ups and all that stuff for Uplay, it was like, yeah, I can record this just fine. And the game ran at a respectable rate too. So it's just, yeah, I don't know of anybody who keeps those things turned on, really. Honestly, I don't keep them turned on. I do get the pop-ups from, when you do achievements and stuff in Steam, but I don't know if there's even a way to turn that off. It doesn't hurt anything, so I just leave it on. It makes sense to me. It's a really nice thing. A lot of operating systems now and games and stuff are all doing this, where you have package managers and everything that just keep everything in sync and just have one point to go to, and you say, okay, just automatically download updates for me and just keep me apprised of things that are going on, those kinds of things. So that's a net positive, I'd say. And while I'm happen to mention Origin, I did have something written down for last week that's no longer applicable. It's and this is one of the downfalls to only having a podcast once a week, is that you miss out if you don't say everything you can say up front. You miss out on some things that were time based. But Origin has been doing this like sort of free game thing from time to time, and I think they had like Plants vs. Zombies, I think, was free at one point in time. But last week, until June 3rd, actually, which was earlier this week, Battlefield 3 was free on Origin. And I figured, yeah, why not? So that's why I installed Origin. I don't know if I'll ever actually play Battlefield 3 or not. Maybe I will, maybe I won't. I thought, you know what? I would never pick it up any other way anyway. So I might as well, if they're giving it away, I might as well go for it. I would not have put money down for it. So, I now the proud owner of that, which may or may not ever get played, but it was free and I couldn't resist. Also along that same lines, there was did I write this one down somewhere? No, I don't think I did. I thought maybe I had written this down, but there was something else that came across my path here that I think is already expired as well. That was also a freebie out there. But I have since lost it, so you'll just have to take my word for that one. So couple things here. A little update on Ethereum, since I was talking about that a little bit earlier. And I don't think I didn't check this off, so I don't think I talked about this last episode, but there was an announcement from the developer that there will be some DLC for Ethereum, free DLC. Namely, it's going to be an episodic Act 2. So he's thinking of releasing episodes for Ethereum for the second act of the story. And the first episode is going to be free, and it's going to be 5 chapters long, and it's going to feature some mission branching, which we didn't get in the original game, Ethereum game. Sounds good. It sounds like he's taken a lot of the things that he learned about mission development while making Ethereum and trying to integrate them into sort of episodic DLC that you can sink your teeth into. So that's cool. I will be playing at least the episode 1 stuff when it comes out. We'll see about future episodes, whether or not I will do them or not. And also it's time that I talk about. I've been putting it off for a couple weeks, but it's time that I talk about Star Citizen. Star Citizen's sort of worrying me greatly as of late. In case you've been under a rock, Star Citizen is the new game that Chris Roberts crowdfunded. It's the highest grossing crowdfunded campaign ever. They're almost at $45 million raised. Now you're wondering, like, well, how are they still raising money? And a lot of it is due to you can go on their website, and just buy all kinds of ships and components and everything else. And you will, once the game is released, you'll have access to all those things, presumably. assuming that they actually finish all those things. And assuming you can actually play the game when they're finished with it too. I mean, it's in the Crytek 4 engine, which means I can't record it. For whatever reason, my computer just like, nope, you're not going to record anything in a Crytek engine. So because I wanted to record the Hanger module, just give it a little props, but I couldn't do that at all. But in addition to that, they released after much of a delay, after about a week or so delay, they released Arena Commander, which is the next module of the game, which is basically a little sandbox that you can jump into and fight like the Vandal Storm and all that stuff. And I think, did it have the multiplayer? I think it had some I think it has the multiplayer in it as well, which is one of the reasons why it was delayed, is because they were getting a lot of desyncing issues between multiplayer clients, which apparently they fixed. So I think there's multiplayer in it, and it's also the Vandal Swarm mode, which is basically just an endless mode where you're just fighting endless waves of enemies. It's still an early tech demo thing-ish. I wouldn't even call it an alpha yet. I would call it more of a tech demo, more of a gamma thing. From what I've seen anyway. I haven't had the chance yet to dig into it. I went to try to download it the other day, and it was the first day it came out, and obviously, there was no way I was going to download that then. It was just kind of sat there, said, "Oh, I'll talk to you again at some point in time." So I'll probably try to download that again tonight and get my hands on it, just play around in it, see what's going on, see if there's anything I can do about recording something with it or not. We'll see. Maybe the frame rate is a little bit better this time around. I don't know. I have to really take a look at it. But what really frightens me about the whole thing is how much crowdfunding they've gotten. It's awesome that they've raised almost $45,000 or $45 million. $45,000, wow. But you can already see it, even with the delay that they had of the dogfighting module, which should have been the dogfighting module, but was renamed Arena Commander because they kept throwing more and more features in there at the last minute. What it has sort of shown a light on is just how hard it is to get a good community interaction when you've taken people's money. This is the problem that crowdfunding brings with it. When you open something up to the quote unquote unwashed masses, you bring with it a whole lot of problems. When you're doing some institutional investors, they understand, like, hey, I'm putting money down, but they're doing actual investment. They're putting money in, and then they're going to get something back for their investment, right? Crowdfunding is not really an investment. It's more of a donation, right? It's like, I'm going to give you money because I like what your ideas are. I wish to subscribe to your newsletter. But there's no guarantee that you'll ever get back to me for anything. And I've talked about this a little bit before when, because there was that whole article about a crowdfunding, what was it, a t-shirt or some crowdfunding project that got sued, and there was a class action suit going against them because they didn't deliver on any goods that were promised or any of the gifts that were promised, so on and so forth. And my fear here is that this is going to, there are so many people involved from a crowdfunding perspective who have put money down on Star Citizen that there is no possible way that the game that will come out will please every one of them. It'll please probably the vast majority, but not every one of them. And we're going to see a backlash from it. I just know it. I can feel it in my bones. There's going to be a backlash. There's going to be a class action of some sort that's going to be filed against them because somebody's going to get their jimmies in a rustle and say, look, this is not the game that I put money down on, or this digital good is not what I expected it to be, and so on and so forth. It's almost guaranteed to happen. So I'm hoping that Chris Roberts has taken a bunch of that money and invested in a good legal team, because I think he's going to need it. Because it's just, at some point you need to just close the coffers up and say, okay, this is it. We're done. We're not taking any more pre-orders. We're not taking any more orders for digital goods that we haven't done yet, so on and so forth. Not in there yet. Because the thing is, you're buying like ships and weapons and God knows what else, right? Those ships and weapons, they might be modeled. The modelers might have finished with them, sort of, kind of, but they're probably not in the actual game engine yet, right? Which means that, and when you put something into a game engine, like you can model something that's beautiful, like 20,000 polygons of awesomeness, right? And you put that thing in the game engine, and the game just coughs up at 1 frame per second trying to do that, and everything else it's trying to do, right? So eventually that's going to get into the game engine, and somebody's going to have to go through and do an optimization pass and say, oh no, this 20,000 polygon majigger thing that you have, yeah, that's now 200. Now it looks like shit. All that stuff you thought you were getting, nope. Performance, baby, performance. And I'm pretty sure nobody understands that. I'm fairly confident. No one who's putting money down on something that has not yet materialized understands that. So, I mean, okay, the vast majority don't understand that. I shouldn't say all. I should say there's a good majority that aren't going to understand that. So I can imagine that we're going to see there's a whole bunch of online news editors right now just sitting back at their desks, just rubbing their hands back and forth like, yes, let's see what happens. This is going to be the story of the century. We will have all the advertising revenue when this is done. And it's sad to say, because I want it to be successful. I really do. I have a feeling that it will be successful. It will not live up to everyone's expectations. I don't have very high expectations, so it'll live up to mine. Excuse me. But I know that there's going to be there's going to be, not a vast majority, but there's going to be a good minority in there, a very vocal minority that is going to be very upset about what they've done with their lives. So I'm kind of hoping that, I'm kind of living in the clouds right now and hoping that everything goes well, but I know that I'm waiting for that other shoe to drop. And already we started to see little shades of it, because they were 1 week behind on releasing the Arena module and the Arena Commander module, and the forums were just lit up with just angry trolls and good lord, good lord, the crap that happened there. And oh, he's run away with our money, and all the stuff that I've heard already about Cube World, like, oh, he's run away with our money, oh, he doesn't care about us, oh, he doesn't do this, blah, 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 blah. Because they don't understand that Chris Roberts has never delivered anything on time. Never, ever, 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 ever. B, there are like something like 20 some odd, and I'm pulling this number out of my ass, but there's like 20 some odd development shops that are working on various modules of the game. And it's like, and from around the world, just the coordination alone takes a lot of time. I mean, as a guy that, I've worked with offshore resources before in the past, and it really sucks. It really sucks when you come in the morning and you have you come in early, like 8 o'clock or so. You have a meeting with your offshore team who is now at the end of their day, pretty much. They're 10 and a half hours ahead of you, right? And you have a meeting about what they're going to work on the next day when they come in and what they've worked on today. Then you come in the next day, you find out that they spent an entire day not understanding what it is that they needed to do. And so they did nothing. I mean, it's amazingly difficult. Amazingly difficult. So the fact that they were only a week behind is incredible, but it's going to be, well, a week behind this time around. They actually promised it way back in January to have the dogfighting module out, and it took them until now June. So this is like the second delay or third delay, but it's yeah, that is going to be the name of the game going forward. I mean, it's just, there's no way to coordinate teams of that size without having lots and lots of time to burn. So and money at that point, which they've got the money to burn. They just don't necessarily have the time or the social backing is sort of waning at times. So, but I hope that they are able to overcome a lot of that and just kind of focus on making the game that they want to make, and hopefully the vast majority of people will be satisfied with what they get, and they probably will. So just being the eternal optimist there. Speaking of being the eternal optimist, so I have a feeling that I'm going to end up talking about this a little bit in this episode of Cube World, and then again in probably the next episode of Cube World. So I'm going to kind of leave myself a little asterisk here to probably pick up with this again next week, because it's a developing story, and some new developments this week, and I'm sure there's going to be some more next week, and I'm not going to have enough time probably this week to actually really go in depth about it. But Mojang, the developers of Minecraft, have been starting to get very, very vocal about some of the things that have been happening in the community, that have been happening for a very long time, but they've been sort of sweeping under the rug, and now they're starting to get really, really public, I should say, with it. And that is the whole idea of charging in microtransactions and things of that nature for bits of Minecraft or bits of mods of Minecraft. And there's a lot of wrangling about, pay to win and several other schemes that have been going on. But let me give you sort of a rundown of what I've gathered from the various threads that I've read. Basically, it started out with an admission by one of the employees, and I can't remember offhand right now which one it is, saying that they're getting more and more reports. They've been getting reports for a while, but the particularly egregious reports where they're getting support calls from angry parents who are, their kids have put money down on some Minecraft server somewhere, and they're not getting the type of satisfaction out of it that they wanted. Something's wrong, they didn't get what they expected to get out of it, whatever, so on and so forth. And they're erroneously calling Mojang and saying, "Hey, what the hell's going on here? We paid for this game. Why are we paying more of this stuff? And why can't we get refunds for this and all that kind of thing? And why doesn't this work? And why doesn't that work?" And this is a problem that every company and game company will face at some point in time if you have geographically distributed servers like this, or you have the ability for your community to create servers. And it's also why you'll see a lot of games sort of segment their servers and say, here are the official servers and here are the unofficial servers. They do that because they really want to remind people that you're going outside the walled garden. You're doing things that they can't provide support for. If you install mods into Minecraft, Mojang is not going to support those mods, right? They just can't. It's not possible. There's people that are developing those mods that have no contact at all with Mojang, or that they have no contact with, right? They can't possibly support them. It's not even possible. Particularly with the amount of mods that actually have been created by the community, as well as servers. There's tons and tons of Minecraft servers out there, and you can't possibly support them. You just can't. You're not the owner. You're not the server owner. You're not. The only thing you did is create a game that people want to share with each other. So that said, you'll see in a lot of end user license agreements, EULAs, you'll see things like, hey, if you go off and do stuff in the community, we have no responsibility for that. If you are a member of the community and you write mods, you cannot charge for those mods. If you are on servers, you can't charge for bits and pieces of the game, of the vanilla game. You can't lock things behind, it's probably more generic in that you can't lock things behind a paywall, right? That said, there are some things you can do. Like, you can get donations, right? As long as there's no expectation around it, right? As long as you're not doing something that's going to be putting your users into a pay-to-win scenario, or even a more of a paywall scenario, right? So one of the examples that they're showing is that there's quite a few servers out there that basically charge kids for diamond swords and diamond armor, things that are part of the vanilla game that they're charging for. And there's as always, there's two or more sides to the story. And this is why this is probably going to take me into the next episode, where I'm going to have to, next week when I talk about, I'll probably have to bring this back up and sort of re-engage in it, because I feel like this is going to be a long 30-minute discussion, and I don't have 30 minutes left here. So suffice it to say, there things going on in Minecraft. The EULA is looking to be revised, and so on and so forth. And I am going to discuss this more next week. Hopefully there'll be some time there for even more information to come out from Mojang, maybe even an updated EULA, whatever, and so forth. Some inflammatory statements being made as well, but we will get into that next week. For now, thanks for watching, everybody, and I will see you next Sunday.